Ozpol's so corrupt. Now I've got 3 clips of politicians talking and a whole bunch of tweets to show you all in 6 minutes, so let's go.
That our current regulatory framework with respect to lending is not fit for purpose. It's become overly prescriptive, it's become increasingly costly, it's become increasingly complex, and responsible lending has become restrictive lending. And the Governor of the Reserve Bank has pointed out that banks have become now risk averse to the point that they don't want to make loans that they fear may be going bad. And we need our banks to be extending credit. We need the regulation to be streamlined. We need customers to be able to access credit, and we will have in place through APRA, the Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority, the appropriate risk-based, principles-based framework to protect customers.
Our Treasurer mustn't have a very good memory, because from December 2017 to February 2019 was the inquiry period for the Royal Commission into Misconduct in the Banking, Superannuation and Financial Service Industry, also known as the Banking Royal Commission. So what the Treasurer says there is a huge slap in the face to everybody that gave evidence during that inquiry, and everybody that was taken advantage of by a bank or one of these financial services. And something else that he says that really makes me think he doesn't have a good memory. Let's go back and hear it again.
Banks have become now risk averse to the point that they don't want to make loans that they fear may be going bad.
Seems like Josh completely forgot about the global financial crisis. Pretty poor form for a treasurer of an entire country.
Today we are announcing the changes to Job Seeker Supplement, the COVID supplement that we introduced at the start of the pandemic, and we will be extending that supplement for the 3 months after the end of December. We'll be changing the rate of that supplement down to $150 for that period out to the end of 3 months, and this will come at a cost to taxpayers of some $3.2 billion over that 3-month period.
Very selective language used by the Australian Prime Minister, extending the time of the Job Seeker coronavirus supplement, but changing the rate. And I reckon he must have slipped up a little bit when he actually said down to $150 during that period. And then he says that will come at a $3.2 billion cost for those 3 months. Trying to really make sure we think these people are a burden, or really try to make us think that they're somehow also not taxpayers. Like I said, try and divide people by taxpayers and non-taxpayers in a country that has GST is really stupid. But I digress. Back to job seeker payments being cut. So that will put them on $700 a fortnight. That's $50 a day. And to show that not all politicians are completely screwed, here's one that seems to really care about us and has listed 50 reasons why $50 a day is not a way to live with dignity. I won't read all of them, but I will point out some that I think are really important. How do you expect people to go to job interviews and such if they can't afford to get there? And trying to make older people compete in a workforce with younger people, and by that I mean that older people are at the disadvantage. If you just look at who's more likely to get a job, and if you look at who's getting these payments from the government, it is largely older Australians. So this stereotype of young Australians that just don't want to get a job, no, it's older Australians that can't get a job. But yeah, shout out to the Senator. We've got one last clip, and it's not so much about the Australian people and the economy, but I'll mention why it's included at the end.
Ms Ruston, can I ask you, as a woman in the government, your reflections on the culture inside? Has it got better, worse, or no change since the bonk ban era?
Well, Phil, the only thing that I can...
How this ban is referred to, I think, is quite dismissive of the seriousness of the issue, Phil. And I would ask media to stop referring to it in that way. We took it very seriously, and I think constantly referring to it in that way dismisses the seriousness of this issue. It's a very serious issue. Thanks, Anne.
Yeah. What are your impressions on the culture?
Well, Phil, I mean, obviously I can only reflect on my own experience since I've been in this place since 2012, and I have to say that I have always felt wholly supported while I've been here. And I'd particularly note that, you know, since becoming a member of the Cabinet of the ERC, there is nobody who's provided me more support and shown greater respect towards me as an individual than the Prime Minister.
Now, just a little bit of background. There was a Four Corners the other day about our Attorney General being a piece of shit, cheats on his wife, very misogynistic, entitled, yada yada, all the rest. Nothing really new. And that's why they brought up that bonk ban that pretty much saying politicians can't screw their staffers. So back to how this clip went. As I said in this tweet, nobody shows Anne more respect than the guy that spoke over her when she started to answer a question about a woman's experience in Canberra. Seems staged in a way, in my opinion. If not, the Australian Prime Minister is really that disrespectful and tone deaf. And here's one of the best points for the argument that he's just tone deaf, because yeah, he is the bloke that made people shake his hand in bushfire areas. And shout out to @StrongIsGentle for pointing out this thread by an awesome Twitter user, Ronnie Salt, where I don't know if the journalist in question asked a setup question yesterday at Morrison's presser or not. I like to think he didn't. Now, the reason I put a clip of the Treasurer saying banks should be able to screw us over and a clip of the Prime Minister saying that the poverty line is fine for many Australians, along with this ridiculous clip of Morrison being tone deaf or a staged question from a journo, because guess which one I think is the least important? Yep, the one that they're going to talk about the most.